Amen.
Good morning. I'm so excited and so honored to be able to come and open my mouth and let God speak for me today. Amen. What He wants you to hear. There is something always going on. Last week I was getting ready to funeralize one of my best friends. We had made plans to do all kinds of things, have some fun. Kids were grown, so now we were going on a road trip, just having fun. And every time she came, she always talked about her kids, how she worried about them, and prayed for them. Parents always pray for their kids. Even when they're in the womb, they pray for their kids because they know God has a plan for a sister who wasn't supposed to have any more children. We have John, who is, praise God, he's doing everything, and he's an example for all of us, especially the young ones. I'm going to tell you about God's plan. Because we can have our plans, we can do all we want. It's God's plan. And we have to be in His will. Today, I heard Sister Jenna stand and talk about the highlights and how we had to put on the full armor of God from the head down. And it's so important that every day that we dress up with that. Yes. But I'm going to talk to you about Joseph. He had a plan. He had some wonderful plans. Didn't go exactly like he planned it, but God was with him like He is with us. Each one of us. If you stand for the reading first from Genesis 19. I don't know if it's there. 50 and 19. But Joseph said to them, "Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You planned evil against me. God planned it for good to bring about the present result, the survival of many people. Therefore, don't be afraid. I will take care of you and your little ones." And he comforted them and spoke kindly to them. But Joseph said to them, "Don't be afraid." Heavenly Father, thank you for those comforting words. As long as we know that you are in our lives, we are never to be afraid, never to be anxious. Know that you are in control and you have a plan for our lives. We want to be able to go today and just speak to somebody we've never seen before with a smile on our face, knowing that God has ordained that encounter. Not only that, think about it. Be careful how you entertain a stranger. It just may be an angel unaware. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. 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 Everybody knows about Joseph. When we talk about Joseph, the little kids learn, they enjoyed it, and they can tell you a lot. Is my little girl here? Yeah. Josiah, you know about Joseph, right? And his coat, you don't have to come up. He's like, "Oh no, I'm not again." But Joseph and his coat of many colors. Joseph was one of Jacob's favorite sons, and Jacob was given the name Israel by God. Benjamin, the younger of the two, was from his wife Rebekah, who had died giving birth to Benjamin. Jacob made Joseph a richly ornamented robe. When his brothers saw it, they felt that their father loved Jacob more. I don't know if you're one in the family or if you have many in the family. You always think that that other one is the favorite. Growing up, my mom had 3 girls, 2 boys. We all thought we were favorites because that's the way she treated us. She gave us special things. She knew what we liked, and we had special accommodations. When his brothers, and he had several big brothers, when his brothers saw it, they felt that the father Jacob loved Joseph more. So Joseph was a dreamer. And he innocently told his brothers about a dream that he had, binding sheaves of grain out in the field, when suddenly his sheaf rose up. And all the others, like the brothers, were bowing down. He told that to his father, and he told it to his brothers, and the brothers didn't like it, but his father kept the matter in his mind. We all know the story that the brothers had their chance to get rid of Joseph. They plotted to kill him and throw him into one of the cisterns and say that a ferocious animal devoured him. Instead, they sold him for 20 shekels to a caravan of Midianites who were coming from Gilead and on their way to Egypt. The brothers ran home to Jacob and told him that Joseph was killed, and gave him the coat that had blood all over it from a slaughtered goat that they had for evidence. They watched their father mourn for many days over his son. How? But God had a plan for Joseph. He was in Egypt, and Potiphar, an Egyptian who was one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard, bought Joseph from the Midianites. The Lord was with Joseph, and he prospered and lived in the house of his Egyptian master. Lived in the house with him. And the blessings of the Lord was on everything Potiphar had bought, had both in the house and in the field. Unfortunately, the master's wife attempted to seduce him, but Joseph refused and ran out of the house. He ran so quickly that he left his cloak in her hand, and she used it as evidence against Joseph. When the master heard her scream and her made-up story, he put Joseph in prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined. While Joseph was in prison, the Lord was with him and showed him favor and great kindness in the eyes of the warden. Every job he had was done with perfection. God gave him success. Amen. Colossians 3:12. Therefore, God's chosen ones, holy and loved, put on heartfelt compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience, accepting one another and forgiving one another if anyone has a complaint against another. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, you must also forgive. Above all, put on love, the perfect bond of unity. And let the peace of the Messiah, to which you were also called in one body, control your hearts. Be thankful. Let the message about the Messiah dwell richly among you, teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom, and singing psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs with gratitude in your hearts to God. And whatever you do, say whatever. That means everything, right? Yes. Whatever you do, in word or in deed, do it to the glory of God.
That's good.
Okay? In everything you do. While still in prison, Joseph interpreted dreams for an incarcerated cupbearer and a baker. Although the cupbearer forgot to remember Joseph for 2 years, he referred Joseph to the Pharaoh, who had a dream that needed interpretation. God was with Joseph, and Pharaoh gave Joseph an Egyptian name and put him in charge of the whole land of Egypt. He also gave him a wife. God had a plan. Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he knew that there would be severe famine. You ever have famine in your life? Maybe not the food, but just money. Just stuff going on. People came to Joseph to buy grain. That's when the brothers came to Egypt to make their purchases. They did not recognize Joseph. But he recognized them. He played a trick on them and allowed them to purchase their grain and to return home. But they had to leave one brother, Simeon. When the food was depleted, the brothers had to return to Egypt, and they brought Benjamin, as was requested by Joseph. Who was Benjamin? His baby brother. And you know Jacob did not want him to come. When Joseph saw his baby brother and the graciousness of the brothers, he was deeply moved. He hurried out and looked for a place to weep. He washed his face and returned to the room to eat with his brothers. He sent them all on their way, again with a trick, whereby his silver cup was placed in Benjamin's sack. Joseph's brothers returned to the house where Joseph was still there. In chapter 45, Joseph could no longer control himself before all his attendants. And he cried out, "Have everyone leave my presence." So there was no one with Joseph when he made himself known to his brothers. He wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard him and Pharaoh's household. Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father still living?" The brothers were terrified. He beckoned them to come closer. I can imagine that. Okay. What you gonna do to me? He beckoned them to come closer, and they were feeling guilty for what they had done to him and wondered what was in store for them. Joseph embraced them with loving arms and tears. But no, he beat them up, right? This is what you deserve? No. He gave them love. And when the news reached Pharaoh's palace that Joseph's brother had come, Pharaoh and all his officials were pleased. He told Joseph to tell his brothers to load your animals and return to the land of Canaan, and bring your father and your families back to me. I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you can enjoy the fat of the land. Also, tell them to take some carts from Egypt, and bring your children and your wives, and get your father, and come back. And this is the part I like. Never mind, you know how we get ready to pack, we got to take all our stuff. Never mind about your belongings, because the best of all Egypt will be yours. In Matthew 7:11, it says, "If you then who are evil know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good things to those who ask him?" And the Holy Spirit. Therefore, whatever you want others to do for you, do also the same for them. This is the law and the prophets. The family moved to Egypt, and after their father had died, the brothers felt guilty and wondered if Joseph would kill them for the terrible wrong they had done to him. And in Genesis 50:24, Joseph said to his brothers, "I am about to die, but God will certainly come to your aid," that's his prayer, "and bring you up from this land to the land he promised Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." So Joseph made the sons of Israel take an oath. When God comes to your aid, you are to carry my bones up from here. Deuteronomy 6. It's the greatest commandment. It says, this is the command, the statutes and ordinances the Lord your God has instructed me to tell you, so that you may follow them in the land you are about to enter and possess. Do this so that you may fear the Lord your God all the days of your life, by keeping all his statutes and commands I am giving you, your son and your grandson, generation after generation, and so that you may have a long life. Listen, Israel, and be careful to follow them, so that you may prosper and multiply greatly, because Yahweh, the God of your fathers, has promised you a land flowing with milk and honey. No matter what you're going through, our loving God has a plan for your life.
Amen. That's good.
Amen. Amen. I just know that You're either going through, you've been through, or you're about to go through. And when you're a kid, just enjoy your life. Enjoy your life. Be obedient to your parents so they can help you grow old like they are getting. If you would all stand and just read this with me, please, on page 364. 364 in the Bible. In the Bible. In the Bible, if you have the Bible, it's 364. 364. It's from 2 Chronicles 7. 364 in this Bible. It starts off with, if my people pray. Let's read it. Thus Solomon finished the house of the Lord and the king's house. All that Solomon had planned to do in the house of the Lord and in his own house, he successfully accomplished. Then the Lord appeared to Solomon in the night and said to him, I have heard your prayer and have chosen this place for myself as a house of sacrifice. Now here's the good part. When I shut up the heavens so that there is no rain, or command the locusts to devour the land, or send pestilence among my people, if my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land. Now my eyes will be open and my ears attentive to the prayer that is made in this place. For now I have chosen and consecrated this house, that my name may be there forever. My eyes and my heart will be there for all time. And as for you, if you will walk before me as David your father walked, doing according to all that I have commanded you, and keeping my statutes and my rules, then I will establish your royal throne as I covenanted with David, your father, saying, you shall not lack a man to rule Israel. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing.
Aren't you glad that God has a plan? Oh, yes. Praise and worship team, you can take it on the stage. Aren't you really glad God has a plan? Yes. But the thing is, He's doing His part. We got to do ours. And that scripture that we just read is the individual application and preparation to appreciate God's plan. And that's what we are challenged to do in this life. To be in a place where God can just get His plan ready for us so that we can know what it is. All the homes that we live in, they all had a plan to build them. You could take the paper and live in the paper. The contractor had to build the house. But God is producing this plan for us. A spiritual house. A future. We have to do something in order to be in line with God. To recognize what plan it is. Listen, there are other plans out there, I'm telling you. We have to be careful to recognize God's plan. Amen. As we sing this last song, if you would like prayer at the altar, just please draw close.